All right, we're about to dive into something truly unsettling. This is a dark, cautionary folktale from the rural landscape of Bihar in India. And, well, it's a chilling reminder that some ancient warnings, they should never, ever be ignored.
You know, in some places, a saying like this is more than just a saying. It's a rule for survival. And our story, it begins with a choice. A choice made in the dead of night that sets off a chain of horrific and completely inescapable events.
So, where do we start? Well, ironically, our story really begins at the end. It doesn't start with a scream in the night, but with the quiet worry of a mother the very next morning. Her son Vivek is late waking up, and there's just this heavy, unsettling feeling in the air.
She calls his name, but there's no answer. When she finally goes into his room and touches his forehead, it's burning hot. But then, a sound just stops her cold. It's a low, almost animalistic growl coming from her own son. Taking a breath, she pushes the door open. What she sees, it's not her son. Vivek's body is twisted into this unnatural, contorted shape. His eyes are a furious, blood red. And the way he's looking at her, it's not with any recognition. It's with this look of pure, primal hunger. And then he speaks. This boy, who has been a vegetarian his entire life, rasps out this terrifying demand. Flesh. I want to eat flesh. When his mother tries to get close, to reason with him, he just shoves her away with this inhuman strength. The family can only watch in absolute horror. As his father rushes home, Vivek does the unthinkable. He sinks his teeth into his own leg and rips out a piece of his own flesh. By the time his father finally arrives, it's too late. Vivek is dead on the floor. So you have to be asking, right? How did it come to this? What on earth could possibly lead to such a gruesome, horrifying end? Well, to understand that, we have to go back. Back to the night before a new moon night, thick with darkness and, of course, youthful rebellion. This is where we meet our three friends, Vivek, Benwari, and Rajesh. They'd heard about this amazing festival orchestra happening in the next village, something they were desperate to see. They knew their parents would never allow it, so they made a pact. They decided to sneak out, promising each other to keep it a secret no matter what. The festival is amazing, everything they hoped for, but it ends late, around 2 in the morning. So now they're hyped up, but also really nervous about getting caught. They start heading for home through these pitch black fields. And this is the moment where they face a critical choice. Now, before we go on, you need to understand the local lore. The villagers have always talked about the Pishachini, demonic, flesh-eating female spirits. The stories say they haunt cursed ground, especially cremation grounds, and perform their dark rituals, especially on the new moon. So this is the choice they were faced with. Take the long way home, which was safe and approved by the elders, or take the shortcut. It was faster, sure, but it was the one path everyone said was cursed on a new moon. Benwari and Rajesh were terrified, reminding Vivek of the warnings, but Vivek just left it off, calling it old superstitions. Reluctantly, they followed him. And this right here was their fatal error. As they start walking down that forbidden path, the eerie silence of the night is suddenly broken by a strange sound. It's the sound of women's voices, sort of laughing and talking in the darkness ahead. Their journey home is about to turn into a living nightmare. Vivek points his phone forward, turning on the flashlight to see what's going on. And in that dim, shaky light, he sees 4 women in dark clothes hunched over something on the ground. They're eating. He looks closer and realizes with a jolt of terror that they are feasting on 3 dead bodies. And then comes the absolute worst part. He strains to see the faces of the corpses, and he recognizes one of them. It's his own. And the other 2, they belong to his friends. He lets out this blood-curdling scream. They turn and just run, blindly, desperately, into the night. They run so hard their breath is just tearing through their lungs, sounding like a blacksmith's bellows. After what feels like an eternity, Vivek trips and just collapses, completely overwhelmed by sheer terror. And that brings us right back to where we started, to the present day. We're at Vivek's cremation on the banks of the Ganga River. As the funeral pyre burns, his 2 friends, Benwari and Rajesh, are sitting a short distance away, completely haunted by what they saw. And then this horrible, chilling realization starts to dawn on them. It wasn't just Vivek's body they saw in that awful vision.
the Pichachini. They saw all three of them. Vivek's death wasn't the end of the curse. Oh no, it was just the beginning. Gripped by panic, they decide their only hope is to confess everything. They run to the village elders who are gathered with Vivek's grieving father, and the whole story just comes pouring out. The forbidden festival, the short pack, the macabre vision. They're desperate, hoping there's some ritual, some prayer, anything that can save them now. But as they're frantically telling their story, a sound cuts through the air. It's that low, mournful chant of a funeral procession. And then another one, right behind it. 2 more bodies have just arrived at the cremation ground. And here is the final devastating twist. The 2 new bodies arriving for cremation, they belong to the fathers of Benwari and Rajesh. By trespassing on that path, the boys had damned not just themselves, but their families too. The curse was already working, and it was swift and absolutely merciless. So, this terrifying tale leaves us with one pretty heavy question. It really makes you think about the power of belief and those old warnings passed down through generations. When a legend is all that